Hey guys, this is me, Chris, and George, and Chris is playing George at Six Stones again. I found this whole thing very educational when they do this, and so here we are again, and you can see it, and we're off. Okay. I kind of feel that white move is just personal choice. There's a lot of ways of going about it, and you're just choosing this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, George has taken the take two solid corners up front approach in this handicap game. I'm taking the try to get George into a complicated fight quickly approach in this game. A couple benefits of Six Stone games compared to some of the other handicaps. Namely, at Six Stones, I have the two side stones I get to bully, which everybody knows I like doing that. Yeah. And then the other benefit of the Six Stone game is that my opponent does not have Tengen, which is also exciting for me. Because I can work on various ladder traps to deal with the things that my opponents might be trying to do. Okay, he chose the pincer. It's a good move. George was ready for this one. Considering that we had just gone over it, it makes sense.
Yeah. For viewers, just before this game started, Chris showed George and I the variations on this Joseki. That's what he was referring to. So George is like, oh, I know this one now.
So naturally, I'm going to play something different.
Yeah.
We don't want to make it too easy for Mr. George. Come
on, George.
For any viewers that might be wondering what is going on here, basically he's deciding between A and B.
And they're playing on KGS, and we're reviewing on this board, which I'm not too familiar with, but whoever's on this board, like I can now also take control and start marking things and playing variations. pretty interesting application.
Yeah, it's a great teaching tool, I think. It expands a lot on a lot of the other sort of tried and true teaching tools, but it does it in a very innovative way for people who are doing things very similar to what we're doing now, actually. Oh, there seem to be a few ants on my desk. Give me 2 minutes.
I grew up with Lance has ants in his pants. I heard that all through grammar school at least, and at home with my brother and sister.
Okay. I have returned. George has still not moved, but I have returned.
I assume your dad still plays billiards?
Yes, my father still plays billiards. Although he's kind of, for the most part, retired from professional billiards. He plays in a pool league for the APA, an amateur pool league now. And it's a team comprised of people. So, I don't know if you follow, you mentioned you played a lot of billiards yourself, right?
Well, mostly pocket pool, but yeah, some billiards too.
Yeah, the APA, the American Pool Association, they rank amateur pool players on a 1 to 7 scale, kind of like first on to seventh on, unironically. And my father has been ranked to 7 pretty much since he's been like 16 years old. And he's on a team full of other 7s, and he's probably one of the better 7s on that team. But they play only like once a month. They don't play a lot more than that.
George has played, by the way.
Did he? Because I don't see it on the KGS board.
I do.
P3. I think my computer's probably lagging out. That's likely what it is. Either KGS is going to catch up here in a minute, or it's gonna crash entirely. Hold on. You can go ahead and add it to the main board. I'm going to try to fix my KGS issue real quick. I think there's a background game I was playing, a Korean MMO that's sort of like hung in limbo that I'm trying to close it, but it doesn't want to close. And I think it's causing the computer to slow up significantly. Okay. So that should be closing in just a moment. All right, so yeah, now I see him. Now I see his move. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Okay. Everything seems to be back up and running normally.
Good. My wife's heading out of town for a week, and in a couple of minutes, she might need me to help load the car.
It's all right. We'll still be here playing.
Stop for a second.
Yeah, it's all good. A week trip sounds like a lot of fun. I just got back from one of those.
Uh-huh.
I was up in New England for a week last week.
Mhm.
That's why last Sunday I wasn't online. I was on the road driving back home.
First time I ever faced this as black was against Feng Yun. She played it, and it's a fighting, and she's so good at fighting.
She's a very strong player.
Yes, she is.
A very scary player.
Yep. As true as that is, Runai Wei, even more so. She's terrifying.
I never had the pleasure of meeting Rinaiwe, but I would have loved to have met her in her prime. When her and her husband were still in California.
Yeah, I would meet at their house to study with them. It was just so cool.
Yeah, it's a great way to get strong quickly. Because whenever Jujo would not know the answer to a question, he could just call his wife.
Yeah, that happened to me when I was there.
So many ants. It's the one thing I will say I dislike about Georgia a lot is that the number of ants that invade your house are ridiculous. Okay, so George is pushing here, trying to weaken Freestones. It's a good move. We'll jump to keep power. I would like to be able to leverage the life and death of the corner a little bit to help break this stone. But we got one corner worth of territory naturally, which is halfway down. I like to get two of them when I can, but I'm trying a strategy where I avoid just taking the corner with the 3 points this time. Okay. This is making sense, but kind of pushing white in the direction white really wants to go. White could push A, play B, jump at C. I can attach a D to overconcentrate. There's also the question of this exchange at Q2. Is it worth making it now? If I exchange it, then it's going to limit some of the black eye space. But there was only one eye down there anyway. Oh. The gentle method. This exchange feels pretty good for white. And black isn't really resisting. Black is just kind of accepting the good exchange and allowing white to come out easily. It's not going to make a huge difference in terms of score right now, but enough of those exchanges over the course of the game will erase at least one stone of advantage. This attachment, this one's a bit strange. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not a getting out move. Hard to know the meaning. I mean, you can just walk out.
Yeah, I was thinking jump is easy and white can
Easy.
follow, but then maybe even after this, you would still play this shape if you were going to try to connect cleanly. You could do that one or just jump again.
Yeah.
This one is hemming black in. Maybe his plan is Hane. But I feel like getting into this situation would be better for white. It's going to be much more complicated. At the very least, I think it's going to let me damage the stone a bit better.
Yeah.
And judging by the fact that George is taking a lot of time thinking about his next move, I'm going to assume that he probably didn't anticipate Hane somehow. Or didn't have any idea of what he wanted to do after the Hane came. Wow, he extended. I couldn't expect it.
Yeah. Clumpy sort of not even an eye kind of thing.
This one would have been better. If white's going to connect anyway, at least like this, he might be able to break out this way. Something a little more aggressive. Or maybe he should just play the Hane in general, and if white comes back with this move, then he can just fix the shape and he's already broken out. He could try this, but I don't know if this actually does what black wants, because the overall shape, black is going to have one eye locally, but it's not quite alive yet. If white gets to block at M2, the shape can die locally. But this one is hard to know because it just doesn't really have a follow-up. Like even this is not clean shape, like obvious weakness. White can just kind of go through it.
Yeah.
But if I break through this weakness now, then I'm giving power towards the center, which hurts the bottom group. So I should save the bottom group first before I break. And if he spends a move in Gote to cover the weakness, it doesn't damage my corner at all. So I think I'm fine with that. So then what is the cleanest shape to continue to defend the bottom? This one. This will help to alleviate some of the pressure of the shape weakness that existed at A.
Mm-hmm.
And just to kind of show it, there's a bit of a cut. Doesn't quite work right now for black as long as white has a geta or a ladder that works, but
Yeah,
there's some
but it's
pretty
still
bad odds.
pretty darn weak.
Yeah. So this one should help cover any of that Aji. Yeah, this does give him a chance to fix the weakness I mentioned earlier, but spending 2 moves just to connect to Q11 or Q10 stone is kind of bad. So I don't really want to stop black from doing that. If black wants to do that, he's more than welcome to. Because also it would be very hard to see what these stones would be doing on the whole board anyway.
This would be a hard spot for me for white. It's like, well, now what?
Yeah. We have to turn into engineers when you play the white pieces in high handicap like this. So I'm going to come out before black gets the chance to cover again. This will stop black d12, but also as white begins to establish a presence in this part of the center, it's going to make this breakthrough even better because as black starts running, that's the direction black wants to go. I don't know if there's a name for this kind of whole board strategy in English, but high-don players, mid-don players, they do this type of thing all the time, where they will look at another adjacent part. Oh, it didn't actually click it in KGS. They'll look at an adjacent part of the board like this and try to tie it into the main story. Because the main story is still this fight down here, because this black group is not alive yet. The problem is if I just attack it directly, then I can't really get much profit. So
right.
I have to sort of create my profit before I start the attack. Like, that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. And with any luck, George will be sort of X-rayed in on this situation on the left-hand side now, and he'll sort of forget, like this will become blurry, and he'll sort of forget about this for a while. I might be giving our listeners the wrong impression of high don level Go. They're going to be like, wait, so White's bluffing and trying to be a magician using misdirection and sleight of hand? It's like, yeah, actually. A lot of that applies to high level Go, because if you just play a straight up game, you can't win.
I've been doing a long series of playing high handicap straight up. And I found it very educational. It's an exercise I give my students. And it's, of course, giving the game away. But the moves, you really start seeing what's next. The most basic idea. Very
exactly.
useful.
That's like the building blocks of developing that foresight skill, the ability to understand from the flow of the stones, like what's going to happen in the course of the next 50 moves without reading it. It's kind of like if you can know that the straight up move is going to be something like this or something like this, and it's very easy to see where this is going to go in general, then you can extrapolate that to the big picture and go, okay, that's the straight up move. How can I make that idea better? And then you start, oh, it'd be nice if I have some support on this side. And then you start playing over there first. That was how I built that skill as a kid. My buddy Norman would ask me all the time, okay, you're going to start the fight here, but where's it going to go to? Like, you both are going to have this running fight. Have you given any thought about where you're running to, like what direction you're going to be running towards, or what the consequences of running in that direction are going to be? It's like, no, I just want to make him run. That's supposed to be good enough, right? But it's like adding that next layer.
I remember being immensely proud of myself when I surrounded Jujo. And I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I surrounded him. And in review, he says, why? You got no profit from it. I'm like, you mean there's more than just surrounding the guy? You got to think surround force or purpose.
Yeah. That's the hard one. And my attack and defense course, that's an interesting move that I've done with Go Magic recently. I mentioned that explicitly, attack with a purpose and defend with a purpose. You need to have a reason for both, right? Because like Q players, they get into trouble saving stones that don't mean anything. And Dawn players get into trouble by attacking too hard. You know? So it's like, you gotta kind of have to know these things. This is a very obstinate move by George, a very stubborn move. He doesn't want me to meddle anywhere in on the side here, so I'm gonna question his corner a little bit. My jump at A technically had 2 follow-ups. I could play on the left around B or play in the corner around C. So I'm choosing to hit the corner since he blocked the side. The 2 stones themselves are fairly light. I can play away from these in general, especially since black has committed such a heavy stone in Gote. If black starts attacking the 2 stones, I can sacrifice them, as long as I maintain something in the center of the board. I think that's an important distinction to make. A lot of players would see one come down and go, oh, my base is gone, and then they'd be afraid of the 2 stones, but you should be willing to let them go. Now, I would love for George to tuck himself back here into the C17 point. That would be very helpful if he could just play this retreating move. Of course, stronger players, they don't like to do that. So I would expect George to play something. Oh, never mind. George decided that that was good enough. He wants to be very solid. Okay, I'll surround him. Now, with just basic life and death skill, George can know that this group in the corner is alive, even if he plays away one time. It will be painful to allow white to squeeze it, but it will live. So theoretically, he could ignore this jump. But this jump is good value for white regardless, because it's creating a good shape in the center, which is going to make it easier for me to sacrifice these stones if I need to. And all I want to do is find a good timing to break through. If I can get that started, then I can naturally target the right side during the fight, break that up, try to get the territory to smaller chunks. Because really the only points George has that I have to compete with is going to be this small amount that he has here, and then whatever he ends up keeping from this really big corner. There will be a few points, about 10 from this corner, that I have to compensate for also. And right now I have only this. So George still very far ahead, but I need the fight to help even it out. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 6 stones is massive.
Yeah, I find anything above 3 to be challenging.
Why is the C circled? Under the triangle is the C, and it's circled. The A is not circled. It what? Put the Mark something with a C. It should be circled. Mark something with a C.
Let me see. The C.
The See, there's a circle around it.
That's because it was
That's
played on the
because
last
you were
one.
marking something that had a circle on it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
what's that about?
Yeah. So, yeah, white is still aiming for this gap here. And not a lot has changed for black. So black is still not super incentivized to defend it directly. Although if George were to wake up a little bit, he could see that this jump at 1 is actually a very annoying move for white. So part of me is hedging on he's not going to find it. And lo and behold, I don't think he did. Okay. Now that he's got the top stone, I can't let him jump first. It's going to be much harder for me to get in on the right if he does that. So I'm sort of being hurried into this attacking move.
You say you can't let him jump first. Where?
Like, let's say I go here. I can't let him get one of these two moves right now.
I see. Gotcha.
Like a move ago, if he had played this move, it would have been somewhat fine. I could come in from here. I could come in from here. It's still fairly easy to get in and break the shape. But after he plays such a tight expanding move, that jump gets a lot more valuable. So I'm sort of forced to break it now, I think, before he has the chance to jump and build the right side in a big way. But I don't have to commit to more than splitting him at the moment. Like I don't have to go super gung ho and just full gas pedal the attack in the bottom right. It's just enough to keep him separated an inch in and then go back to what I was doing. I can squeeze the upper left corner a little bit for some extra thickness, and then I can probe his upper right corner to try to get some more value. Mm. Now, I have no idea what move George is going to be thinking about here. He might come out at A. He might come out at B. Oh, he does none of the above. This one. Normally, you play this when there's a threat of a cut. Did he think that there was going to be something with this white move? That doesn't really make sense. I'm just going to come up because there's no risk. If he plays 1, I can honey it too. It doesn't go anywhere. Although A might be a little bit more annoying now. Still seems like it's tough to make it work in perpetuity, though.
For viewers, we had to make a decision. Do we play the game and then review after, and that's what we record? Or do we record the actual game, which is significantly more lengthy? But for me, I find it very valuable to see what Chris is just the secondary thoughts. Well, I'm thinking this because of that, and seeing what's on his mind as he plays, I find beneficial. So I decided we'd record that.
Yeah, I think it's good because a lot of those behind the scenes thoughts are what people are missing from their game to get better. It's one thing to know why the strong player played the move they played, but it's another thing to know why they didn't play the moves they didn't.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay, so he's just concerned about living directly. Okay.
Okay. Can I help you? Okay, great. I will be back in 5 minutes. I need to help the wife pack
Okay.
or out to the car.
So this move and these exchanges should have given white some benefit locally here. There was a potential for a peep at S7 in the future. That's gone now. And white getting the 2 stones here is quite good control in this area in general, which is going to make it easy if I need to break into here towards endgame. So these, and plus black didn't really gain any points from the series of exchanges, so this should be at least a somewhat slight gain for white locally. It might have been better for black to, instead of doubling down here, because black can do that at any time. Black could start with like this probe. This would have been a rather annoying move to play against white. White in most cases is going to bump here because white needs to keep the liberties tight. But that would give black the chance to extend. And we're basically aiming at 4 different weaknesses within the white shape. And this is something white has to pay very close attention to. If white simply connects here, this is probably the strongest resistance white could play. Black can continue to break out, aiming at that cut at N5. It's very annoying. This would have been one of the more active ways. Or black could have played something softer like B, for example. This kind of move, just jumping out, because white doesn't have an easy time cutting. If white makes the peep, this is like trying to aim for this type of crude cutting. But this is very, very bad for the liberties here. The weaknesses around L4 are going to be very, very painful for white to endure if white is losing liberties in the northeast section of this series of exchanges. So it's something that I would be worried about playing with the white pieces. And if black was worried about that, of course, black could just play A. This would get basically there'd be no jump cut here because black would have Atari and it would also form tigers. And also, if white tried the same diagonal move, it's not a peep in this case, black can just block it. So black could have tried these things. But this exchange is a really helpful exchange for white, and this exchange is also a very helpful exchange for white. So I'm not very sure about these. Is it enough to say that white is going to be winning the game? Definitely not. But they are exchanges that are over time going to help white. They can never be bad exchanges, I don't think. I still have to figure out where the territory is going to come from. Because even though I gained a little bit with M7, I still haven't made a second big territory. I've effectively given black the whole left side. Of course, black is not going to keep all of this. Part of this area will be reduced. But even just the corner, if we just look at the corner on its own, like this, A to J is 9 by 2, so 18 points, plus 5, plus 3, plus 2, so plus 10, so 20, almost 30 points in the corner, with another 16 to 20 points up for grabs on the left side. So black is standing to make a lot of territory here. Okay, so he's playing this one. This is going to fix white's shape further. I think just block is okay. There's an argument to be made with this one because it can help break this move better. But I think block's okay here. If black already has enough space to get 2 eyes locally, which black does, then stopping L2 is fairly small, I think. So I'd rather just have the strongest local shape and give a lot of power to my M7 position. But anyway, black has a lot of territory in the bottom left corner. White's only real source of territory is in the bottom right. It's much smaller by comparison, maybe only 15 points. Like, 3, 6, 8, 14. Yeah, that's about 15 points in the corner. So when you consider it's like 15 versus like 50, and then plus black has about another 10. It's probably something in the neighborhood of like 45 points that black is better still on the board that white has to find a compensation for.
Okay.
This group being alive will certainly be tricky, but maybe we can manage in the upper right corner. Welcome back. I was just doing some commentary while you were gone. You really didn't miss much. George played one move.
Okay. I'm going to go back and say, okay, white, black, got that. You did connect here and here. And it's black to play. Okay.
Yep. And black played this one.
So
this move, I think,
is alive.
Yeah, I think black was actually alive even without this move. Because black could have played A or B.
Yeah, but if white plays 07.
Yeah, if white does. Yeah, it's kind of, if white does do it, black can just live. So it's really just the value of how big is A versus Tanuki. And I think Tanuki was bigger in this case.
Yeah.
This one is going to give me the chance to come back and squeeze now. I wanted this. This one is a big move for white for territory. I was counting. I think George still has about 45 points up until this last exchange that I need to account for.
And how many would you say he had on move one?
So I know from playing against Katago that Katago evaluates a 6-stone handicap at the very beginning of the game. Depending on which version you have, to be about 72 points advantage. So from 72 to 45-ish, if my count is accurate, then he's lost about 25 points. Maybe 35 points, something like that. But it's still a lot of territory, like raw territory, that white has to account for. It's not easy to make 50 points while the other guy makes 0.
Right.
It's like, because that's where I feel like a lot of players sort of, they don't really think about it in full. It's like, oh, I reduced the handicap, but it was only 45 points between us. And it's like, but that's 45 points assuming that you're both playing one move and your opponent's getting 0 and you're getting 1 every time.
Yeah.
That means you need at least 40 moves to make up that difference at that exchange rate. But not every move is going to be at that exchange rate. Some moves you're going to gain more than a point. Some moves you're going to lose more than a point. Okay. So I don't like this attachment. This attachment is going to lose points for George. It's much better in situations like this to jump, usually. If white has to block something like this on the outside, black has enough space to live. Black can even just push and fight. Like this, you're not inviting white to have a backdoor into this part of your territory. It's not like this box was small. It was 16 to 20 points. If white gets to erase that naturally in the course of black struggling to live, that's going to be a pretty nice pickup for white. So I'm not sure about this one. Wedge should be the next move, but George played the empty triangle. For those wondering, the wedge allows black to have the choice of the cut when white plays the Atari. Black can cut from above, black can cut from below, or black can choose to not cut either and just simply extend. So the shape ends up being cleaner in most cases. And if white plays one of the Ataris, then black can counter Atari, cut, and achieve this ko. If white doesn't have ko threats, then this ko can be somewhat nice for black. But he chooses empty triangle cut. Obviously, we're going to play this one. I need to do it on the KGS board too. Oops. Play this Atari. And he's going to get to come on top of us, but it is what it is. It's a result that I'm not exactly unhappy with. Oops. I can only presume he's going to follow the pattern. If he doesn't, I'll fix it on the tree, but I suspect we're going to get these two moves next. And now it's really just a question of extend versus connect. Functionally, they're kind of the same thing. Connect would be a little bit more solid towards the center. I don't think that George is considering Tanuki here. That might be just a little bit insane. But usually when my opponents take this long to think on one of these choices, that always makes me think, are they considering playing away here? That would be tough. White would get a lot of extra value being able to cut. This peep is also interesting as an option for black here. I didn't really consider it at first, but allowing white to cut at A and in exchange being able to Atari outside and then cut through at F16 would give black some power towards the center. And then if white did just connect the peep in the future, if black's able to descend to G17 or jump down to G18, it can be worth a lot of points on the top. In the game, George chose A. This is fine. It's a good move. I'm going to go ahead and take this push now while I can. Oh, that could have been something else that George might have been considering. But this one, white would ignore it. White wouldn't take the stone. Right. So we can discard that one fairly easily. And this push is worth more than just getting the diagonal and endgame because white's capturing an extra 4 points of territory here that white didn't have. So from my previous count, white's about 4 to 5 points better, which means that the score that white needs to make up should be about in the 35 to 40 range instead of the 40 to 45 range. Yeah, Michael Chen has a term for this. I learned yesterday watching another popular Go streamer, Telegraph Go. They call it efficiency drift. This idea that as you make these exchanges throughout the game, one person making consistently better exchanges over the course of a series of moves is going to naturally drip the score into their favor, closer and closer, just on an account of the higher efficiency. And I think that's kind of what's happening in this game so far, because George hasn't really made any like egregious blunders, but the game is getting closer and closer every step.
Yeah, when you look at how many stones black has played in this area, for how many points, 2, 3, that's pretty inefficient. But your stones are much more flexible.
Yeah, just very different. Quality of moves long term. Hane, that's a very strong move. I was kind of expecting George to jump. It's usually the normal shape, but this is going to force white to capture. In the future, that cut might be something I can aim at. Although this way does give black the chance to get the last big point on the top side of the board, which is not small. But it's also not Sente. Black can play H or J17 and white doesn't have to answer it. If black wants to get a move towards the top that white does have to answer, then black can consider the peep. So it's really like between these three. Black could also consider maybe jumping back around 1 or playing some Ogema at 2 to sort of block a lot of the Aji at the 3/3 point. But the right side direction is a bit strange considering how thick white is in the bottom right corner. The right side value is very small compared to the top. I don't see any good attacking pressure against the bottom group. Okay, so George chose B. So I don't really have to worry about anything down here for white. So since he took the top, white should take the right. These are sort of Miai area. If he had played on the right-hand side, like if he had played around 1 or 2, then white would have come here. White could also consider to probe the corner first if he had enclosed, but he didn't, so we'll come in. I'm expecting George to play A or B. These moves seem to be more his style. He likes to just lock down all the territory as much as he can. Maybe it would have been better knowing that for white to have gone into the corner instead. Because white could have played, I could go here and just aim for this ko. Whoops, played 2 stones in a row. I could have aimed for the ko and then tried to win the ko and erase the outside for profit, but that's asking for a lot. But if you're significantly far behind and it's not super early, it's okay to go for such things. Yeah, I had a feeling George was going to try to lock the corner down. That's fine. Extend to keep the 3/3 pressure open. This move is still an open move for white. And for black, you can make the argument to try to extract the stone to fight something like B or C. But then black is playing on the side where white has the most thickness. And that fight should be better for white. Black can't really gain a lot attacking at B or C, so it's usually better for black to come across the top of white actually and sacrifice the Q10 stone in most cases. And just try to use it for endgame reduction if we can throw that stone away. And
what about just the Hane at S14 to take the corner?
You can do both. Normally black is going to try to cap first and then Hane second.
I see. Yeah,
both of those are trying to use the square stone to the fullest as a reduction move rather than an attacking stone. Yeah. But that would be a lot better for black because when you consider black still has a peep around here or this sort of night like Ogema 2-space jump cut, and black can play things like this Hane at M8 and this 2-space jump at O11, all of a sudden, if black picks that direction, it's looking like black is getting a rather nice box in the center, which is annoying for white. I'd rather black not have the ability to take some potential there, but there's a future where that can exist for black if black can think about how to use the stone the right way. So this is kind of a skill check for George. Basically, is he going to find the sacrifice idea or is he going to find some other idea? He's still locked in on this idea of hyper territory, which is fine. He can do it. Okay, George connected here. Just an in-between move. Locally, white should play A, but I'm playing at B first because I want to ask George what his plan is for this area. Basically, he's going to block here, 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 or here. One of these 4, and I'd like to know which one he's going to play so I know where my Aji is on the top side.
In my mind, if we play B, we're no longer going to play K17 invasion.
Probably not. It depends on how black answers.
But I'd be more interested in the invasion than this B move.
Maybe.
Invasion's big.
So is this though. Because if I can capture with something like N10, it's also quite large. But this is erasing black's potential in the center as well. I really don't want to like play passive here and then still have to answer this move somehow. because black might threaten A, for example. And if I end up having to answer, let's just say I have to answer somehow. I really don't want black to get senteis with this move. I don't want black to get senteis with these moves. I don't want that future where black is building the box in the center. Black can't build more than black has already on the top anyway. So, but the center is still wide open. That's why I like this direction. Plus, when he blocks here, I can still invade a K17. So I'll come back and fix now, since he can't play the capping move anymore. Functionally, this should be a good exchange for white in terms of the power in the center, removing black's cap. Territorially, it's a slightly better exchange for black. But the invasion is still open now. So there's that. Now here, I don't really have a sense of where George is going to play. I'm not as familiar with George as you are. There's not really like a clear territorial move, I think, that would just appeal to George. Things that I would be considering as black, I would be considering like the diagonal or the attachment. I'd be considering jumping. Maybe you can consider something around 4 or 5 to try to build the left-hand side area. I would not be trying to save this stone. I think that would be a mistake.
Right.
George is playing the peep now. Okay. I don't think I like the peep on its own. So if he's going to follow this exchange up with something like A or I don't know, maybe B, I would like it better. But leaving it as is just going to create more weak points in his shape long term for me to aim at. Hane in the corner. This move. Does he mean to suggest he's attacking me? Is that what he wants me to believe? But what about you? So this is a bit slow. No, I was talking to George in this case. George says, I'm attacking you. This is very aggressive, this 1-2A combination. Yeah. But it's too much, isn't it? What about your own weaknesses? What about your thin top side? For me, when I see attacks like this is fairly common up to 4-dan. These types of direct attack, very fierce looking things. They have a tendency to backfire a lot because your opponents start to exploit your weaknesses, and then all of a sudden you get strong naturally, and then their groups are left thin and cuttable, and you get value on the crackback. So this is a very welcome move, this A move. I think it would have made more sense for George to cover that weakness first. If white had made some exchanges like this to just settle around the corner, then black would have been happy if white had just lived. Like, if black ever gets a trade of some move at A for a move around B for white's life, black should be thrilled with this. Yeah. But somehow black wasn't happy with that result, so black decided to try to play a stronger way. But you have to be certain you're going to get profit out of this. The only thing I see is that black is going to be forced to retreat at A. White's going to get to build the center and extract the group. Yeah. And then I'm going to be able to extend at 1 and start poking around 2. So he's just kind of given me the keys to the car, so to speak. Yeah, this is a big turnaround right here. How can we phrase this in a way that can help the SDKs sort of catch this kind of mistake in their own games? Because I feel like a lot of the SDK players that would see this would go, oh no, my group, and then they'll try to just defend directly, right? Like, the amount of times I would see them play something like this and then like jump or something, just
Yeah.
so that they can be like, oh my God, I'm alive. You know, how do we dissuade them from playing this way?
Yeah. In my mind, when black plays A, he's got to be thinking of white's B group. He can't be thinking of defending his C group, right? So it's
Mhm.
only the attack. We agree on that?
Yep.
Okay. So if we want to attack white, doesn't something like A, B, C, these are all doing so much more work. And the
Mhm.
upper left corner is so small. So this
Right.
just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he pushed out. George is still trying to resist strongly, but this is more damaging to black shape than it is to whites, I think. Because I have this sort of exchange already. If black cuts, I can just Atari, and then if black counter cuts, I can just kill it in the ladder. There's no cut at one.
Yeah.
So that A stone is sort of the unsung hero here. That cut's not really working for
Yeah.
black.
Yeah.
You know, also, if he cuts, I can just extend it too. This is putting a lot of pressure at the mark point. I have enough liberties to kill it if I thrust. So the cut fails both ways. So does he mean to say he's going to Hane? Because Hane also looks risky. If we imagine, like, hmm, yeah, if he Hanes, I can just extend, or like not even extend. I can just like tigers. If he defends the top side after that, I can extend it E11. That's going to be a fairly big pickup for white, and then I can attach under H18 and break his top side. So I just don't really see a good continuation for black after this exchange. I think it was appropriate at this point for black to retreat, just fall back and defend the shape. It sucks because white is going to have like this exchange is painful to suffer. White's going to have
Yeah.
initiative to play here now, but after this exchange gets made, white still needs to come back to the center somehow to defend the area. So white's eventually going to owe black a move to stop that push. Probably white can even take it now. And this would have still been fine. Black still would have been in an okay position here, I think. But making this exchange first and then coming back, I'm not so sure about this, to be honest. Not so sure about this one. Hmm. Yeah. Now he's going to have to deal with the fact that white is now becoming very thick in the middle, and white is also threatening A. I'm very curious to see how George is going to come back from this.
Now, didn't we say that there's no cut there for black?
There wasn't a cut there for black. That's correct. But I'm not playing it necessarily to protect the cut because I think the cut works. I'm playing it to remove black's forcing moves in the center now that black is connected back with one.
Okay.
So it's just a matter of thickness. I'm playing it so that I can be thick.
Yeah, black could get a bunch of forcing moves there.
Yep. That's a good move by George. That knight's move, very sharp. So he recognizes the danger of that move. Okay, since the peep is going to be harder to work, I'll start with the clamp instead. Yeah. There's a bit of a risk for black if black plays at A. And there's a cut with the sequence up to J that isolates the corner. Probably I should have used numbers for that one. Like that. There's a sequence all the way up to 9 where white can get some kind of cut here.
Uh-huh.
Locally, black can turn at A10 after that, though. So it's a little tricky, but white can peep at B16 and force black shape into connected shape. And then it's a capturing race where white will have 1 eye and black will have 0. And that race should be winning for white. Although I would need to actually read it to make sure that black just doesn't have enough liberties to kill me first. But assuming black doesn't, that should be a winning capturing race for white. Now, will George read all of that is the question. He might go, oh, this readout is going to be like more than 7 moves, connect. And I'm happy if he connects also, because then I get to break that entire area of territory and he's still weak. So getting to break that territory by Sente will be a big bonus for white. Big bonus. Yes. He just connects. A smart man. Basically, I can show it now. The thing I was looking at was this fight. So black can play like this Atari, then there's this kind of push, and white's just basically thinking about how can I get all the liberties that I need to fight this effectively or whatever. But there's this this issue where there's this sort of capturing race idea white can go for if black had extended. White might have been able to start with something here, some probe to give extra liberties later, but there were complications there. For sure. I'm going to take this as an in-between move. Locally, white is supposed to connect under at A9, but black cannot kill with A10 directly. So even though A10 is a big endgame, this peep should be bigger in the corner. If white can live either way, it's going to be bigger than connecting underneath, especially because I can still break
Now,
from the
why
center.
don't we see this as a double gote move?
Double gote, like gote for black or for white?
Yeah. Black doesn't.
That's true.
There's no groups in danger.
That's true. There isn't anything in danger for black yet. But there is a chance in the future if black does not handle the Aji here correctly that this group gets cut off. So long-term benefit, this move, getting it before black gets the Hane, affects black's eye space in that inevitable future that may or may not happen. I shouldn't use inevitable, but that eventual future that may or may not happen. And so it's useful.
Yeah, but if black
Plus,
takes
if I
his
have
Sente
to,
and
sure, he could take the
position will be
Sente. He could play away. He could play away.
It is very big.
Playing away would have been fun. Yeah. But now that he's committed, I get this one for free.
Right. Which is why I wouldn't have done it, because I don't see any groups in danger. But it is all big. But I hate giving white these Sente moves. Gosh.
Yeah, it's always hard to judge whether or not it's bigger to play away or to let white happen. Because on the one hand, if you're certain you can avoid the future where you come under attack, then you should Tanuki. But if that future manifests, you're going to wish that you answered. So it's like the catch-22. How certain are you that you're going to be able to handle things like the E4 attachment without giving up too much, or some other move in the bottom left corner that white's going to try to use to separate the corner from this group and this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so George just connected. Just connecting was correct here, I think. So locally, I can go back and block on the left side. It's not exactly Sente to play A9.
Yeah, but
it's big. Basically, I want to play A9 at the absolute last minute, moment. Like basically, when I think that there's no other big move than black playing Hane, is the last possible timing to take a9, and that's usually when you want to take that kind of move. Is there anything particularly big or pressing that I can do right now? It's kind of becoming a matter of endgame here. If I can out endgame him for the rest of the difference I have to make up, then that would be good, which is right now about, what's the bottom corner is going to be 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 16. About 25 points. With that, it's about 30 points. 42, 45, 49, 50, 51. About 57 points in total. And then white is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 9, 10, 13, 14, 16, about close to 35 points. So it's like maybe 20 points difference plus black's miscellaneous potential on the left might be worth about another 5 to 10 points. So I'm still about 25 to 30 points down in raw territory.
Mm-hmm.
Places I can try to make that up would be if I can bridge the gap a little bit and build a potential here in the center. That would be ideal. So basically try to get some sente here and then get that cover move at N10.
So what about something and building a big center here?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at.
Is this a little bit false? There's so many weaknesses.
Yeah, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one. This one is basically a guaranteed sente. Black is probably not going to let white cut through this. And if on the off chance black does resist with a move like A instead of blocking at B, I'm going to have more Aji with all the thin shapes that I can cut here. So in theory, I should be able to trick him a little bit. I fully expect George to block. That's kind of in his style. It's just a matter of timing at that point. I might go back and take A9 just because A9 is big in sente on its own. It's actually really big in sente on its own. It's kind of like a huge reverse sente for black to just extend there. Yeah, he did block. We're going to come back to this one. Yeah, now if George ignores, I can start messing with the bottom left corner and try to sacrifice whatever I do there to build some kind of bridge between these two stones. If that happens, then he can't stop the middle because this group will be way too weak. So I'll be able to get at least 10 to 20 points out of the center that way. And this exchange just defensively is really good for maintaining connection between 1 and 2. If at any point George decided he wanted to cut through me with like O15, I can just Hane outside. Come back to this one and just snip that off so I can go here. There's not too many places where George has the opportunity to blunder, because a lot of the groups are fairly stable. The only way that George could make, I think, a super big mistake, quote unquote, would be if he tries to run the Q10 stone. Like if he got greedy.
Yeah.
Which is always possible. George does like to fight sometimes. So he might look at that stone and it might be enticing to him. He might look at it and go, oh, maybe there's a world where I bring it out to destroy white's center and get some attack on the upper right corner. He doesn't need that to win. That's why it would be a mistake. That would just be giving white chances. Sometimes, Lance, you just have to speak these things into existence.
Into existence.
Thank you, George. Yeah.
I have a thing coming up, so I'm going to have to leave fairly soon.
Okay.
But I'll leave it to you guys to
Yeah.
do any review and finish playing and all like that.
Yep.
Now the burden is so on black. I cannot die here.
Yep.
He didn't
This
have a
is
burden
where.
before this.
Nope. But see, this is why as white, I'm like never in a rush to make exchanges like 09 or this knight's move ahead of time to try to directly capture the stone, because at that point it's very easy for a player at George's level to look at that stone and go, oh, I can just make him capture it small. That's easy, right? But if you leave it alone long enough, like their eyes are just going to keep wandering to it.
Yeah.
And they're just going to keep being like, oh, but what if I could do more with that stone, you know? And it's like, yes, George. What if you could do more with this stone? Do more with the stone.
I'm going to go do my other thing.
Yep.
And I'll just leave all this sitting here for now.
Okay. Will you be back before we're done, do you think? Or
well, when I am, it'll be to I'm giving a lesson.
oh, gotcha. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Catch you later. Thanks,
yep.
Chris.
Bye. Okay, so we got what we wanted. Black is now creating a weak group here, and this is basically White's best chance to win this game. Black is going to have to come out and start running towards this weak group. And since Black never answered that stone, and White has some Aji with moves like this or this attachment, White should be able to do something to get some strength here and then also separate. So that's the general game plan. George played this Atari. This is fine. Just connects. This is the general game plan for how we're going to try to win this game. In terms of territory, it was already fairly close. I think George was leading 25, 30 points up until this. Give or take based on the counting that we did. And a lot of that was deterministic of like a lot of the miscellaneous potential Black had with this place here. But with this fight in the center, it's not so clear Black is going to be able to get any points here now. So it's a bit strange. Attached to settle, this is fine. We're going to come through and cut because we need to keep maximum pressure. If I had played the Hane here, this would have been too easy for George. This extension would have been a Sente. And if I play something like this, or if I play something like this, it's not guaranteed that George was going to answer this Atari. He might play Peep, for example, and allow White to come in one step because he can live on the top or connect out to the center. And if he's able to get some cut like this, it could be a very awkward fight for White. So we don't want to give that future to Black. So instead, we play inside Hane, and then he cuts on the empty triangle. This should be fairly bad shape for Black. Couple things we can consider: extend, we can consider Atari, we can consider cut. This is basically all we have to think about. There's also this Atari, but that Atari is a bit strange, although it's probably a little bit better than B, to be honest, because B would just be pushing Black out. If we can't push under and fight, it doesn't really do much for us. And it seems like it would be hard because if we go like Atari, extend, push, he can play Atari turn, and then if at any point we need to like come back and fix the shape somehow, then he can play this Hane and just try to seal any number of sealing moves, and it's going to be difficult. I'm leaning usually more towards A or C. We play A, and he plays Atari, extend, push, cut, Atari, capture, connect. That's going to be risky. Extend, Atari, extend, push, extend. That would force the connection here. And then he'd have some weakness on top. We can bump and then extend here, for example, threatening to push and cut. So that's a fair bit attractive. This cut is a bit stronger, though, because I think he doesn't have a way to make either ladder work. If we cut and he extends, we can just Atari. This Atari doesn't go anywhere for the same reason. Plus, we get really thick in the center. So I'm leaning more towards just cutting now. Just kind of asking George how he wants to continue. A is the first one that comes to mind. B is another one that comes to mind. You don't usually want to play anything like Atari sequence at C because this is just killing yourself and then you still have to connect. So in the Tawari, this 1-for-2 exchange is sort of not really helping. Like if we had played here and white extended, we would never push in. This would be too small. So a lot of this is going to be sort of deterministic on how George decides to play here. One sort of big idea George might have could be some type of either cascade the ladder that doesn't work down and then try to defend and claim that white's group is going to die. That is something white does have to pay attention to. So like if, for example, this type of thing happens, and then this type of thing happens, and then this type of thing happens, like the white group is not alive yet. So black did have this as an option. That would have been a problem that white would have had to solve. But instead, he played Atari this way. I mean, obviously white has to run it. But I'm not really sure about this one in terms of what it is that he's gonna whoops, get here. Clearly this, yeah. So he's just trying to use it to get natural extraction. That's fine. In this case, though, we can push it. Screen. Any ants at Georgia? Yeah. So okay, George extended. So this is fine. But now these 3 stones in the center aren't really helpful. Not in the way black would like them to be. Black would really like to be able to clamp and squeeze liberties here, but the weaknesses are very, very tough. If A comes, then white can play B and gain more thickness. So you can sort of think about this idea of like, oh, A, B, maybe C, D. Then he can defend with something like E, I guess, to try to cut off the group here. But I don't think it's going to work. White can play this one and aim for A. And this is going to be tough with the cut through at B, the Atari at C. So this one shouldn't really be working for black, which is a bit tragic. George resigned. Oh no. He was still winning 15 points. It's twice now he's done this. Hi, welcome back, George. Yeah, you were still winning. Oh, I mean, you were probably going to lose from this point, to be honest. It was actually very funny. Right before.
Sorry, say that again.
I said black was probably going to lose from this point anyway. Yeah. Because white really closed the gap up in this fight, and then if black had continued in the fight locally beyond this, it was only going to deal more damage. Actually, Lance and I were talking about it right before you played this move, and I was saying right when I was connecting, I said, I'm going to go ahead and take this now because black's descending is a big reverse sente. And then I was like, there's no way that George can really lose this game if he just plays good territorial endgame. He's still winning by like 30. The only chance he ever has to make a blunder is if he doesn't find the idea to throw the A stone away and instead decides to extrapolate that stone because I've left it there teasing him. And then the minute that I said that, you played this one, and I was like, oh, I can't lose now. Yeah.
Which move was that?
Your move at 011.
Okay, 1 kgs now. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll switch back to this board. Just so that the people in the video can see. Yeah, this one was not very good. This one would have been a lot better because if you can force white to capture and then just defend, white just actually doesn't have enough points. And there's no weak group really outside of the left-hand side, so white has to try something egregious to make the upper left group weak. But it's not really like it's a bad fight for you because my group is also not alive yet. And if you get extra thickness here, then it's going to be even more likely that that fight is going to be better for you than me. But we'll sort of go back to the beginning and I'll do a review. Yeah, I played this one because it was one of the Joseki we didn't look at this morning. So a little bit of a skill test. This Hane is a move, but it's not the most common. Blocking is usually the more common move. And then in this situation, black can play like this and then knight's move. This one is really, really good for reinforcing your A-stone. In a handicap game, white might choose to play an intermezzo, this kind of move. And there's a bit of a calculation involved in this intermezzo, and that's can white block and can black cut. Because in this case, if white can extend and black can't capture, then it's going to be good for white, but it doesn't work here. Right? Black can play obviously this Hane, but black can also just push and then catch the 3 stones, and the whole corner is going to be dead. So you don't have to worry about the intermezzo here because the A stone is already covering the main dilemma that this move would be aiming at. So the shape is really efficient for black. This one trying to cut, giving up the corner is comfortable for white. Usually when this comes, the next move should be here. Have you ever seen this one before?
I think I have, yeah. I mean, I know the shape for sure.
Yeah, it's a somewhat common tesuji, although players tend to forget about it. So maybe it's not as common as I seem to think it is. But the idea is very simple. Whenever white plays this Hane, black is just going to extend to keep pressure on all of white's cuts. If this connection comes, then black can just turn. And the whole white group is left without a base or eye space. And then white has to either push or make some kind of sabaki in the local position. And black is getting a good thickness. So it's a really annoying key point. Instead, you played the J3 side, which is also fine, but it's a little bit redundant with your F3 stone. You've already enclosed low on that side. There's not really a lot of territory here. And you're pushing white into the more open space rather than pushing white into the more confined area. So we would look at it directionally as like A is sort of pushing white west and B is sort of pushing white north. And if you ask yourself which direction white really wants to run, the north is where white's going. White has more potential to do things out in the center than white does anywhere on the bottom. So this exchange I wasn't quite sure about. I think I could just play B. The main thing is that this is really only good to be one eye anyway. If we ever look at sort of how the shape simplifies, even if black takes that point first, it's only one eye. And even if I get it right, like this, and this, you can just extend and block, and it's still one eye. So the exchange doesn't really help in terms of the eye space, but it's big for white in terms of the corner. It's going to be sort of stopping A from having life and death pressure at B. So this is more or less the meaning. I didn't really touch on this during the initial commentary, but for players watching, this is where this kind of exchange shines, because now black doesn't have time. And if black connects and white gets to play in the center, and then this one comes and white plays in the center and this one comes, now because of that extra exchange, white is going to be able to live easily in the corner with this too. Whereas if that stone were a black stone and there were a white stone here, we would be in the L shape, and the L shape would just be dead. Right? We can sort of play that out. So if I go B and then black exchanges, and then black goes here and I Tanuki and black comes in. For those that don't know, this shape in the corner here, this L shape, is a dead shape. Even if white plays first, this form is dead form. So locally, I can't live. I would be running at this point, trying to fight with the black group inside. This would be a disaster for white. Black is super thick at the right-hand side. White is not gaining any discernible advantage by coming out this way. And at this point, the only person that stands to gain anything is black, because black is building the thickness towards the other weak white group, and then black gets to break white's entire shape. It's like not so good. So this one is really a matter of the life and death in the corner. It's going to make living the corner easier against R8. And if R8 is not a sente for black, then that's a good thing for white. So in the game, I play this attachment. This is just a probe. I wanted to see if black was going to play this one, or if black was going to try to play stronger. Black didn't. Black extended, which was a nice gift for white. But it's also fine for black. This move, Lance and I didn't quite understand. Neither of us could come up with a reason why you played it.
Well, I was behind enemy lines, not alive, and I want to get out, but I felt like I could, if I just jump, I'm not putting any pressure on either side.
If I ignore you, and then let's say this variation comes, you're putting a lot of pressure on white, actually.
Okay.
Like if white has to play like this, then black gets to cut. That's pretty big, right? Like white doesn't have any eyes all of a sudden. And you can always connect out or jump forward. So it's like, I think the jump should be more valuable in this case. And even if you can't see that vital point, you should be able to see this one. Right, if white protects against the Hane, then you get to play this exchange, and this one is also going to be very good for black. White's whole shape gets broken, right? If white wants to avoid broken shape, white has to play... I mean, there's nothing that avoids broken shape here. White would have to block this way. But even in this case, white's group is not even 1i yet, right? Like, and white's in terrible, terrible form with a weird stone at L5. So it's kind of, to say it's putting no pressure, I don't think is true. I think it puts a lot of pressure on white, and white's going to jump to get ahead of that pressure. These, I think, hurt you more than they help you. At this point, there's two things you can think about. There's the wedge and there's the Hane. The wedge is a bit of an interesting one, because if you follow sort of the full sequence, black has a chance to be alive immediately if black wants to be. If white comes back and connects, for example, black can just extend to live. But white doesn't have to make that exchange. White can instead jump, which is much more likely. And then at this point, if black lives, then white's plan is going to be to switch to the right side, using the power of the thickness. At this point, these 4 stones don't mean much. I would argue even this stone can be sacrificed. White really only cares about the wall. So from here, this was one way you could have played. You would have been alive immediately. There wouldn't have been any lasting pressure on your position for white to try to exploit over time. But white was also not unhappy with the result, if that makes sense. It lets white play a bit flexibly. And the other way you could have gone was just a simple Hane. If white had extended like this, you could play the wedge connect next and then just cover on top. Like this would have been okay. If the full shape plays out, white's going to get a lot of territory, but black is going to get a lot of thickness. And black doesn't have to connect. For example, black can still come back and play this one. Or now that black is super thick, black might even adjust it to be this Hane. And really try to aim.
And what about the
pushing.
Atari? What about the Atari after the Hane?
What Atari?
Way back at the beginning of the sequence. After my...
Oh, you're talking about this one. You'll just connect.
And the other way?
It's the same. it's the same thing if you connect this way. If white Atari is the other way, you can sacrifice the 1 stone or connect. If you connect, white has to worry about the push at R5 now, right? So what is white going to do? Connect? I mean, white could probably play this way, but you can extend. If white extends, you can extend. If white blocks, you catch the 2 stones, right? And if white connects out, you can play the attachment, and it's just clean at this point. There's not really much white can do. You can play this one. It's a secondary Tesuji. If white Ataris and connects, you catch the 4 stones, and then white has to worry about the peep outside. You can also peep first, which is going to be a Sente, and then connect, and white is still just dead locally. And if white connects here, then you can Hane. You don't even have to take the 3 stones. Those are sort of your backdoor. But you can start this running fight, and it's going to be okay for black. White cannot save both, right? So
I nearly
white
played the
cannot
Hane, but then I nearly played that Hane, but I was gonna allow you to take the 1 stone. That's what I was moving into.
Gotcha.
So that's also okay?
You're talking about with the cut, giving up the 1 stone?
Yeah.
Probably it's going to be slightly worse than connecting. I think connecting is just the strongest move because it breaks the whole white shape, and there's no reason why you can't play it. But I think, yeah, if you weren't going to do that, then playing the counter Atari probably is fine. The problem with this, though, is that when white captures, black doesn't have any additional pressure on the weakness of the white shape, and white just got thick towards the right side. So if black ends up having to play this extension, white gets the peep, and then if black connects to avoid that, white gets to jump either here or here. And then black still has to worry about the fact that this stone is a bit overextended. So it's kind of not that great, but playable maybe. This one I think is just the strongest because white doesn't really have anything other than fix the right side. This exchange is pretty much forced. I mean, white could fix the right side this way, or white could fix the right side this way. It doesn't really matter which way white fixes it. But the premise is going to be the same. When white fixes, black's going to extend. And this extension is going to force white to make black capture, and then white can defend again. But then at this point, black is already out and home free. The group is primarily alive, and there's not really much more white can do locally. And if white has to play like these 2 exchanges just to take Gote to live in the center, that's already a big plus to black, because that means you can come back and cover, or you can make the attach exchange here, which is good for black, asking white to either take Sente and save A. For example, white could play like this. Or if white doesn't do it, let's say white plays something like this to defend the upper side group. Okay, well, in that exchange, black can come back and play this one, which is the vital point for attacking the C12 stone. It's going to remove the slide invasion from white and make the D10 stone very thick. And then at this point, white is kind of out of moves. If white saves the 1 stone directly, black is going to have initiative forever. For example, if I jump, do you see where black should go next?
Just the 1 space jump, I think.
Here.
Or the night speed. Ah.
Right, because white still has some weakness. So you can make these exchanges first, and then you can press, and then you can Hane. And then when Hane comes, you can either extend or connect. But after this, if white pushes, you can Hane. If white ever connects back like this, you go here. If white ever plays the tigers, you turn. And these 2 exchanges are in the perfect position to keep white surrounded. Right? This one comes, you can aim for cut or simply extend. And if white cuts, you have no risk in the corner. You're alive. So white has to find a way to engineer 2 eyes in such a small space. But it's going to take so many bad exchanges for white to live here. Black would just let white live, probably. White can't really damage the corner. And the outside is really the only place where white might have something feasible. Like maybe white can do something like this to try to gain some eye space. But even with exchanges like this, white is not alive. So tricky, right? Like, can white live? Maybe. Like white can probably cut, make the Atari, do the push, and if black blocks, white can take the two eyes. But how much did white have to lose on the outside to get this? Just for black to come back and play this annoying Hane next, which is either going to guarantee that black gets all the territory here, or it's going to throw the entire group into a life and death struggle right next to that new thick wall that black just built. And so this kind of thing is super stressful for white.
Could you go back to N3? I have a question around there.
To N, which one?
N3, quite a way back.
This one.
Yeah. If you go back one move.
You have control on this board also, George.
Okay. Yes.
Remember, as long as you're watching you're in the demo board.
The link.
Okay. Then let me give you the link on KGS real quick. LGD doesn't paste. There you go. So as long as you have this link, you can just do what you need to do on the board and ask whatever you need to ask.
Come here now. Yeah. So if you play this move, the ladder I don't think works for me, right? Because of your move in the top left.
This is a very strange looking shape. How did we get here? White played twice, 2 moves in a row. I'm seeing a bunch of white stones on the board. I'm not seeing a bunch of white or black stones on the board. Make sure you have the double stone one, the place alternate stones in the upper left clicked. Yeah, so this one doesn't matter about the ladder when you can extend.
Okay.
Because the extend is threatening the Geta and the capture, right?
Okay, yeah.
So this one is just going to force white to connect back to the corner, and then you're just going to take the outside. And at that point, if white Ataris the 2 stones, you don't care because white was already alive.
Okay, cool.
So you're not really worried about that here. In this particular situation, I was connecting because I wanted to make the most use out of some move around A. And in order to do that, I need to be able to come in here, which means I need to have strength here. Right, and like I said, if this one comes, I can just play like this and then connect back to the corner. You'll get a good shape on the left, but then I'll be prepared to come back and fight. Then later, I'll try to break the right side with something like A or something like B. I'll play one of these two in the future.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, so sort of jumping back to where we were, we pretty much discussed this whole thing. Yeah, this extension sort of gave up quite a bit for black here locally. Like black just didn't really gain much. And white actually gains a lot by getting to R8 because I soften up your Q10 stone a fair bit, which is one of my targets, if you remember, in the 6 stone game. That move is probably fine. I think ultimately this one is probably better. It's less control at the corner, but I don't know so much that you're worried about me living here. Like life does not seem to be the inevitability for white. in this position. Like, it looks like I'm going to die if I invade you because of the exchanges on the bottom. Are you familiar with this method to kill a 3/3 invasion?
Yes. Yeah, I don't know about many variations stemming from this, but I know this move, yeah.
Yeah, then if you know this, generally speaking, as long as your knight's move has extra stones on the outside, then usually your opponent cannot live easily. So coming back to defend the corner here is a bit slow. Again, it's like somewhat redundant with these two moves. They don't really get to do what they wanted to do in the corner because now white is never going to try to invade to live. White is only ever going to invade to sacrifice. Which is not really the future black wants. Because that means I'm going to get many things on the outside. So I think here was the vital point for continuing for black. This one might have been just a little slow. And so when you don't take it, now I have to come out because a couple reasons. I'm aiming long-term at this weakness at A, but also I really don't want black to cover at B or attach at C first. And there's also the fact that black can play 1, and it's almost impossible for white to come out easily when black does this, as long as black has some idea of what they're doing. So there's a lot of different features white needs to forestall on this left side, and so I think jumping is a bit of an urgent move for white. This one I couldn't expect. But it seems to be like your super solid territorial style, just take points and kind of win in these handicap games. When black has a significant lead, it's probably fine. But in general, this move is not so efficient.
Yeah.
It's also usually better still to have 1 because later, if white ever tries to make the eye, you can wedge and cut through like this on the outside, and your stone at C9 is actually in a really good spot in this fight. Not that this is the future black wants right now, but it is a future that black has access to later. This one, you don't really get a lot out of the position. If like white just ignores, the best you have is maybe this wedge. But the shape is worse for black on the outside. So, yeah, this one, I'm not going to call it a mistake, but I don't think it was the most accurate thing you could do. Here, thank you.
So, what should I have played instead of that move? Could I have played in the corner at D18?
You could have ignored this move entirely.
I mean,
because
before my drop, instead of me dropping down at C10.
Oh, instead of dropping at C10, you could just attach at C. Like
Okay.
this would be far more active. Because if white has to play something like this, then black can still get this pattern, and if white pushes, you can jump. White's handling 2 sides, right? So you keep your D10 stone as an active attacking piece rather than a passive territory tool.
And coming back at D10 is just too passive, presumably.
You're talking about where?
Instead of attaching.
Yeah, you just pacify your stone here. Because at this point, if white cannot break in here anymore, what reason do I have to save these? Now, nothing you do against these 2 stones can be forcing. Nothing.
And
oops.
And this move is too passive, presumably.
This one, it's points oriented, but yeah, it doesn't really put enough pressure on white. At that point, if this type of shape comes, white's probably just going to break here. Because now I can't do anything to the corner, so I might as well try to extrapolate value out of the side of the board like this. And then try to condense black into some shape like this where I get to steal a little bit of the side territory. And then maybe later I have some Aug around A I can use. It's probably fine. It's a solid move, but it's a bit passive, yes. I think the most active thing black could ever be doing is this one. Just because it puts such a lockdown on the c12 move that nothing white plays in the corner can ever be sente. Because white can't really run that stone out effectively. Very advanced, though, this type of thing. But worth knowing. Yeah, here, though, this jump, though, just isn't really sente against the corner. And neither was the slide. So black could play away here for all intents and purposes. Answering with this inside move was very helpful to me because now I get to jump. And even though the jump is also not sente, lightly connecting my shape on the outside while forcing black to play such a small inside move is a bit of a gain for white, especially in lieu of A. I was a bit worried that black might find this one, which is a bit annoying, actually, this move. It makes a nice box on the right side, and it sort of forestalls my inevitable idea of trying to come in here. Because you have this descent, which can lead to a fairly painful squeeze. And then white can't really kill black here. Do this one, or even just make the life directly. This kind of thing would be tricky. There's going to be some Aji in the corner later for the end game. And white still has to live at the upper right side, so white's kind of tied down to that if this sort of thing happened. So I was a bit worried about that jump. When you took this one, I don't really have a choice, I think. I have to come in now to get ahead of that move. I can't let you get both wings. And then this, I think you go awry again. You fix this group in the corner in probably the most direct but passive way ever. And you gave up a lot on the outside to do it when you didn't have to. So you can do N6 if you've read out that N6 is enough to live, right? But you don't want to play N6 if there are better options available. It's sort of like your last resort for life.
N6, you say?
Yeah, your attachment that you played in the game. This one. Sure. As black, I would probably consider just coming across the top of white at B because white is also not alive yet. Or maybe playing the thick one because white can't cut this, right? Like you might be worried in this shape, oh, white can cut, must be so bad. But actually, this move makes it very annoying for white in the shape because there's another cut here, right? There's this sort of wedge connect idea. And if white fixes the whole shape, then black can push through and cut again. And this one, white is going to be dead. So there's a lot of things white has to figure out here in this type of position. If white blocks like this, you have clamp. And you can start extracting the group from below, right? If this happens, now your 3 stones are in the attacking position. White isn't alive. And this whole thing has become reversed. So even though it looks risky, white's A is actually losing a tempo in the fight. It becomes a very tough fight for white because black has that backdoor on the second line. So making these exchanges just for the sake of being alive locally, you actually lost about 5 to 10 points here. Especially coming back here because you were already alive. You had sente. If I jump in like this one, you just exchange this in the corner and then Nobi, and I can't kill you. Right? And if I try to take that direction away, like let's say in this case I block here, right? You can still make this exchange for the eye and then just go here. And I can't break both corners, right? So either way, you were alive. So you didn't need this A move. You took life and Gote when you had life and Sente, which allowed me to get back to the corner squeeze. Shape-wise, this should have been the clamp. This is a good one to remember. It's often better than cutting with empty triangle. White can try to fight a ko. I don't think white has any ko threats big enough to fight this ko. And if white just plays this Atari, you can extend through. And there's just not really anything white is doing against black here. So the clamp was good enough, I think. This shape is slightly worse for you, as you saw in the game. You have to spend a lot of moves fixing. Yeah. A, B, C, 1 and 2 were what I considered. I thought the A, B, C direction was bigger. You did, in fact, play that side. I think I like A a little better than B. Your attack against my cornerstones is not really real at the moment. So this one has less invasion potential, less Aji with this move.
We've lost the
but-
board for some reason.
Oh, that's because Lance had to do something. But I mean, that's fine. We can call it for the recording there.
Sure.
I don't know if Lance is gonna continue from this point or not, or maybe the board will still be saved in the recording. I don't know. But in this particular case, I didn't think I needed to answer H17 because I always have the ability to Hane connect in the corner as well as pincer on the top side and get my second die that way. So to have the claim that you're going to attack me and maximize your territory is kind of a fallacy. If you really wanted that to be true, you'd have to do something like this. This would put a little more pressure on white and would maximize the territory a little bit better in terms of the local endgame. But okay, we start from here. I knew you were going to play something in the corner. I had a feeling, but black should on this board. I think here, this one makes a little more sense. If you look at what I have outlined, right, all those triangled points are points of interest that begin to form a framework for black in the center. And that framework is a real... Okay, so basically this point, this point, this point, this point, and this point.
Yeah.
You should start to see the triangles appearing now.
I see them now, yeah.
Yeah. So in this case, it's like, let's say you go here, right? And white says, okay, I'm gonna make attachment, pull back, and then I'm gonna kill the one stone, right? Cool, white killed the one stone, but then black gets to play something like peep and surround. All of a sudden, the white needs to find eye space, right? But then black gets to peep and then Hane, and the group on the bottom isn't alive. And then all of a sudden, black has 30 points in the center that black is threatening out of nowhere. Yeah. So this was the skill check, I thought. White could play something like this, which I think against most players is going to be the best way to play because you can really try to induce them to run that A stone and make a mistake. But also, it's probably the easiest because stronger players can find this. Like, even strong SDK can find this combination and it's not too hard. Like, it's not out of the realm of something I would think you'd come up with. Right? Because it's just kind of like a basic surrounding sequence. You're just going to force white to live and get a big thick wall. And then you're going to go here and get, 20 points out of nowhere. So I didn't really want that future. I wanted something that skill checked you more because I was convinced you were going to kick. I wanted to see if you were going to play A, B, C, or D. This choice is like different levels of player will play different moves here. And it's usually the response to this type of move is indicative of the strength level of the player because any mid-don player is going to recognize the Moyo potential and play this one without thinking. But for Q players, it's a bit harder to see the whole board in such a broad sense like that and come up with it. So they're much more likely to want to save the one stone or play here. Right? But in the future, when you have that option, this one is a really good one to go for. It's very hard for white to break it. Like if white plays here and you block, there's this and then there's the empty triangle, but this doesn't really matter to black so much. Right? Because if black is able to come through here, white is still not gaining a lot in the way of territory. Like white can get a fair bit in the corner, but if black gets to save, it's that same issue as before, right? Where black is going to be able to force white to take a life here and then come here. Let's just have white live. Black is going to be able to get white's bottom group some danger and build that profit towards the center. So I thought this one was a fair bit relaxed. This is also why I came here. Lance and I discussed this move a little bit. He thought A was more valuable than B. I think B is more valuable than A because A helps with black's objective, right? First off, black can fight here. This is not the cleanest fight in the world for white. Black is threatening A, threatening B, C, threatening D. This is already tough. And even if white could play something like this instead, this would be Gote in the exchange, and then black would be able to get to this type of thing first, which would be if white is forced to come underneath like this is painful, right? And then black can still get all the forcing moves against the other white groups and build that potential towards the center that I was worried about. So in that case, I thought, okay, I'll check and see which move black wants to defend with on the top side, see what Aug I'll get up there, and then refute that capping idea in the center that black had. Normally, 1 is going to be your best defense, but sometimes there's bad Aug with, if white ever gets a stone here, there can be bad Aug with things like this. But as long as white can't get to 015, the Aug doesn't work. So it's playable for black in this case. 4 is another one black sometimes plays when black is trying to be super thick against this cut. Because in this case, black can just simply play Atari and capture. And this extension is not a sente for white. Black can block, and if white ever cuts, black can just simply trap it. Like this or like this. This one also fine. This one leaves a bit of a weakness with this attachment in the future, though, so something to be aware of. When white comes back, black can't really wedge because of the cut and Atari combinations that white's going to have. This will be useful for white to build the center in a powerful way. There's some problems with this one, but not too many. Come back to fix, black peep. This was a bit aggressive, I thought. 1 or 2 is typically the Honte. If white captures the 1 stone, this is a good result for black outside. Black isn't really worried so much about white pushing in and trying to keep the territory here because this type of result is not super efficient for white, if that makes sense. Like black is getting a lot out of white playing this way. And if white simply blocks, black's extension is a sente, right? White has to come back and fix somehow. So white might choose to fix with like Hane Atari and then block. But this is also Gote for white. And black has the ability to jump now as kind of like a sente. White can live or escape, but it doesn't really matter which one white chooses. If white does it like this, then black gets to play here. And if white plays this extension, well, black might ignore it now because black has the ace down. So white is kind of losing timing for some good moves here. But this one, I didn't have faith in the attack for black. I didn't think this attack was real. First of all, what does the attack gain for black if white doesn't die?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so you kind of have this sort of rough situation where you're already playing the attack from a direction that's killing oriented rather than profit oriented. You're going to push me towards the center and not really get a lot out of it. But furthermore, you could just play A, B, or C direction, and I'm going to have to come back and live, right? Like if we can imagine this exchange is somewhat sente at any point, you play this knight's move and then seal me in again. Like I don't have 2 eyes locally. If white tanukis at any point, the Hane becomes severe. So white is going to have to go back and fix this. Having to fix this Hane like this is going to be painful for white because I'm going to have to give up Sente to do it again. Give me 2 seconds. I need to be right back real quick.
Are you there, Lance?
What a hot day today. It is 85 Celsius in this room, or 85 Fahrenheit in this room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in this case, if white has to come back like this to defend, it's not really going to be that good for white. But when black is sort of playing like this, now I get to use your shape weaknesses to fix myself in Sente. And so it creates a bit of a mini reversal for white here. White gets a bit of initiative back, which is good for white, I think. Probably it was correct for black just to block here. If white exchanges all the Sente like this, white is left with the fragmented shape. And then there's still a push at A in the future if you want to make it, or a cut at B. So white will probably just leave it as one exchange, to be honest. White will go there, and then white will come down to force the connection, then peep. The idea is that if black connects, white can make all the Sente exchanges, and then white can play like this and come back and connect this way. Or white can just turn to get ahead of any cuts that black might have. But I think just blocking was correct. Here, you can't really cut me. Because if you try to cut me like this, it's going to be painful for you. Also, I can just extend this way, which is going to force this move, and then I can connect through, and then I can ladder you, right? So because that cut doesn't work, you already lose sort of the main reason why you want to push. And if you play the Hane here, I can just defend it. Like you can come back and defend here, but I can still make this exchange, and then I can still make these exchanges, and then I can come back under with this move. And you're going to be forced basically to capture the two stones in the smallest way possible. This would be very big for white. So this exchange didn't help you much. You realized that in the game and you came back, but this sort of helped white a lot. And then this I played as a matter of pre-course for thickness. If I Tanuki'd, this cut, even though it's hard, it becomes playable for black now because I lose the ability to extend in Sente. Right, at that point, black will cut, and white cannot Hane here because of this move. So I have to make my shape thick, which is Gote, and you found a good answer. This was a very good move. Here, I tried to trick you. I wanted you to extend. And then the plan was going to be to try to gain some leverage in the corner with some like sacrifice here, and then go for this type of thing. but you didn't fall for that. Unfortunate.
Chris, I think
You could-
I think I need to leave, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
But thank you very much. It's great.
Yeah.
And
Take
shame,
care,
Chris,
George.
shame that the video wasn't captured for the last time. But hopefully Lance stops the video and then we'll have a fully functioning video to upload.
With any luck. All right. Catch you around.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. Bye-bye.
Bye.